Miss Nightingale's ladies would be preferred. All travel would naturally be paid for by the family, and there would be a generous remuneration for the duties required. Applications were to be sent to Mrs. Baird McIver at 17 Ainsley Place, Edinburgh. Hester had never been to Edinburgh before. Indeed, she hadn't been to Scotland at all, and the thought of 4 such train journeys at this time of the year seemed most agreeable. She wrote to Mrs. McIver, stating her experience and qualifications, and her willingness to accept the position. She received a reply 4 days later, and enclosed with Mrs. McIver's acceptance of her application was a second-class train ticket for the night journey to Edinburgh on the following Tuesday, leaving London at 9:15 in the evening and arriving in Edinburgh at 8:35 the morning after. A carriage would meet her at Waverley Station and take her to the Farraline house, where she would spend the day becoming acquainted with her patient, and that evening she and Mrs. Farraline would board the train and return to London. Hester had made some inquiries out of interest, even though she would barely arrive in Edinburgh before she left it again, at least on the initial visit. Perhaps when she returned with Mrs. Farraline after her stay in London, she would have the opportunity to remain a day or 2. Her time would be her own, and she could see something of the city. She had been informed that in spite of being the capital of Scotland, it was a great deal smaller than London, a mere 170,000 compared with London's nearly 3 million. Nevertheless, it was a city of great distinction, the Athens of the North, renowned for its learning, most particularly in the fields of medicine and law. The train rattled and lurched around a curve in the tracks, and when the air had cleared, Hester could see in the distance the dark rooftops of the city, dominated by the crooked skyline of the castle perched on its massive rock, and beyond them all the pale gleam of the sea. In spite of all common sense, she felt a thrill of excitement ripple through her, as though she were at the outset of some great adventure, not a single day in a strange house before a very ordinary professional task. The journey had been long and uncomfortable, there being no privacy in a second-class carriage and very little room. She had naturally sat upright all night, so she was stiff and had only the occasional snatches of sleep. She stood up and straightened her clothes, then, as discreetly as possible, redid her hair. The train finally drew into the station amid gushing steam, clanking wheels, shouting voices, and slamming doors. She seized her single piece of luggage, a soft-sided valise, large enough for only a change of underclothing and her toiletries, and made her way to alight onto the platform. The cold air struck her sharply, making her draw in her breath. Everywhere there was noise and bustle, people shouting for porters, newsboys calling out, the clatter of trolleys and wagons. Cinders shot out of the funnel, and a grimy stoker whistled cheerfully. Steam belched and billowed across the platform, and a man swore as smuts descended on his clean shirt collar. Hester felt wildly exhilarated, and she strode along the platform towards the stairs and the exit with most unladylike haste. A large woman in a stiff black dress and poke bonnet looked at her with disapproval, and remarked ringingly to the man next to her that she didn't know what young people were coming to these days. No one had any sense of what was proper any more. Manners were quite shocking, and everyone was a deal too free with their opinions, whether they had any right to them or not. As for young women, they had every kind of unsuitable idea in their heads that one might imagine. "Aye, my dear," the man said absently, continuing to look for a porter to carry their very considerable luggage. "Aye, I'm sure you're right," he added, as she appeared to be about to continue. "Really, Alexander, I sometimes think you're not listening to me at all," the woman said testily. "Oh, I am, my dear, I am," he answered, turning his back on her and waving to a porter. Hester smiled to herself and made her way up the steps to the exit, and after handing in her ticket, went out onto the street. It took her only a few moments to find the carriage which had come to meet her.